What's up, guys? My name's Stu, and today we're looking at the new Terran Acheron Dreadnought Carrier. That's right, guys, we finally know what the Acheron is going to be. We already knew that the Acheron was going to be a variant of the Styx Dreadnought. Its model was leaked to the ship tailor a few months ago, so people who had the Styx were able to apply that costume to the ship. Since then, a number of us have been wondering how this ship is going to be released into the game, and now we know because it was announced last night. It was supposed to be released on 10 Forward Weekly, but due to some technical difficulties, that never ended up happening. Fortunately, Bordicus was kind enough to post the stats of this new ship onto his Twitter account. Okay, a little weird doing this on Twitter, but here we are. By the way, if you're not following me on Twitter, you are missing out, because I'm hilarious. Anyway, this is the Acheron Dreadnought Carrier. You can probably tell just by glancing at it that it is a variant of the Styx Dreadnought. This is supposed to be a 25th century version used by the current Terran Empire in 2411. Who the Emperor of the Terran Empire is, we still don't know yet, but now we're going to be able to know what their ship can do. The Acheron will have a 5-2 weapons layout. For console slots, it'll have 4 engineering, 2 science, and 5 tactical, and 2 hangar bays because it's a dreadnought carrier. Its console ability is called Launch Temporal Merv. Basically, it launches 3 Merv projectiles, each of which will lock onto one enemy. Once it gets close, it starts firing duplicate projectiles at said foe. It'll do this every 2 seconds for 12 seconds, and then fire itself. Each projectile will deal radiation damage, and give a debuff to speed, turn rate, and weapon firing cycle. This debuff will stack up to 5 times. The passives were listed deeper into the thread. They'll give a 25% turn rate at full impulse, which, that's not going to help you in combat, but will also give a 5% cooldown reduction to universal console abilities. That's actually pretty interesting. Console abilities can be very powerful, so being able to fire them more often can lead to a good amount of more DPS. The fact that this console deals radiation damage and that it cools down universal consoles a little quicker, this can end up being a really good console for an EPG build. Oh, also, this is a gif of what it looks like when it's fired. Very colorful. The Acheron starship trait is called Gravitic Entanglement. While you have Fire at Will or Scatter Volley active, foes that are hit will be pulled together if they're within 5 kilometers of each other. If they get within 5 kilometers, they'll start dealing kinetic damage to each other. This could be an interesting trait. It's going to depend on how strong that pull is and how that kinetic damage scales, but I could see this being useful on a cannon scatter volley build and maybe even a torpedo build. Though you would have to actually have an energy weapon equipped, so that could be a problem for torpedo builds. I don't know, we'll have to test it. And by we, I mean Augie. I really can't afford another lockbox ship right now. More stats info down here. It'll have a hull modifier of 1.35 and a shield modifier of 1.2. Not super high, but still pretty high, which really isn't surprising given that this is a dreadnought. In the bridge officer seating, it'll have a Lieutenant Tactical, Commander Tactical / Temporal Operative, Lieutenant Commander Engineering, Ensign Universal, and Lieutenant Commander Universal / Temporal. A Commander Temporal seat means you'll be able to use Recursive Sharing 3 on this thing, and the rest of the Temporal seating means you'll have a nice amount of unconventional systems triggers, so this thing is going to be a pretty nice beam overload build. A Commander level Temporal seat also means that this will be a full Temporal ship, so this will have the Molecular Reconstruction Beam. The Acheron also has a base turn rate of 7, an impulse modifier of 0.16, and 30 inertia, which are the same as the original Styx Dreadnought, so they're going to handle virtually the same. And the ship's power buffs are going to be plus 10 to weapons power and plus 10 to auxiliary power, which makes sense. You're going to want some weapons power for your energy weapons, but you're going to want some auxiliary power for your temporal abilities. The rest of this is just more pictures of the ship. Here we get a decent view of the aft section. Here's a close-up of one of the pylons, which you can kind of see the hangar bays on. And this section, which they're calling the bridge cake. And thanks to Augie, we know that the cake is death-flavored. So yeah, overall, it's a cool ship. It's kind of like the Zentaur had a baby with one of the temporal warships. It'll be good for energy weapon builds, mostly because temporal ships that aren't science ships really aren't good for anything else. Of the 2 ships I compared it to, it's going to be more similar to the temporal warships because it is a full temporal ship. The only things the Acheron has in common with the Zentaur are the 5-2 weapons layout and the fact that they're both dreadnought carriers. So yeah, that is the Acheron. Really interesting ship. I'm not that into the look of the actual ship's model. I don't really go for the whole Terran theme. Sorry, I'm not Augie. Stats-wise, however, I do really like the ship. It's a full temporal, the 5-2, really nice for a beam overload build with Recursive Shearing 3. Plus, it's a dreadnought carrier, so it'll have 2 hangar bays, which I do like my pet builds. If you like the ship's stats but aren't that into carriers or just don't want to pay for a lockbox ship, trust me, I get that one, maybe check out one of the temporal warships in the C-Store. It has a similar bridge officer layout, but it's a warship, so it'll be smaller, a little more maneuverable, and have a better mastery package. But no pets. It's also a C-Store ship, so it'll be cheaper and unlock on your whole account. Also, there's like 4 of them, so you got some options if you want something more faction appropriate to your character. So yeah, overall, I do really like the ship. I would love to get it, but I really can't afford a lockbox ship right now because those things are expensive. Let me know what you guys think of the Acheron in the comments, and while you're down there, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button, maybe hit that bell for notifications. If you'd like to further support the channel, hit that join button or the thanks button. I really appreciate it, but either way, thank you so much for watching. My name's Stu, and I will see you guys next time.